and I appreciate the opportunity of leadership to be able to spend a little time this evening on what I define as a very, very important subject. Mr. Speaker, in the rancorous world we live in these days, there's a tendency for people who observe the United States Congress from afar to think that we have become a shrill and loud, unfocused rabble of people, that perhaps we've lost our sense of humanity, and even worse. But tonight, I'd like to visit about an individual, a person, a set of circumstances that refute that falsehood in the popular perception. What do I mean by that? Well, Mr. Speaker, not many months ago, we on the House Science Committee, both Republicans and Democrats alike, majority and minority, received some what can only be described as devastating news that a member of our family, and when I say family, I mean our congressional family, the people who serve in this building and in these buildings and serve in the personal offices and serve in the committee offices and serve in the leadership offices, people who are the individuals that you've known for months or years, maybe sometimes decades, that you've jousted with on issues, that you've cross-referenced notes, you've debated with for extended periods. In the various roles, those are the people I define as our congressional family. They could be Democrats, they could be Republicans, they could be senior staff, senior members, or the most junior of all. That devastating news that I mentioned, not all that many months ago, was that the Deputy Staff Director for the House Science, Space and Technology Committee, Majority Deputy Staff Director, Jennifer Wickre, had been diagnosed with cancer. Now, that's always the most intimidating, shocking news that anyone could receive. But tonight, I don't just want to talk about that, and we will, because it's important to the struggle she's facing, but I want to talk about the person that this member of our congressional family has been, is, and no matter what the struggles of the next few weeks or months turn out to be, will always be a member of our family in our hearts and in our minds. Jennifer Wickre, Jen as we call her, originally from Medford, Oregon, a town in the southern part of the state. Her parents ran a local law practice. The kind of salt of the earth sort of people that you'd want to live next door to you. Jen earned a bachelor's degree in government from Claremont McKenna College in Claremont, California, and a master's degree in the National Security and Strategic Studies from the U.S. Naval War College. And in her tenure, has served in a variety of roles. I think the role that I speak of this evening is her role in Congress. She started her career on Capitol Hill as a scheduler for Congressman Jerry Lewis in 2003. Now, for those of us who remember that wonderful individual, Jerry Lewis was a senior member of Appropriations, would be chairman of the committee, Jerry served in numerous senior positions within the Republican Conference. A great member to work for and learn from. And Jennifer worked from being a scheduler. And any of you who have any interaction with members of Congress or their offices know that one of the most difficult staff positions is to be a scheduler, because you get to balance the member's limited time with the needs of the spouse, with the needs of the district staff, with the needs of the office staff, the committee staff, and all the important constituents back home. And she performed well, as all of us know her, would have expected nothing less, and became a senior legislative assistant. Now, she worked off the Hill for a little while, but then she came back to the Hill to be the professional staffer on the Research and Technology Subcommittee in 2015. And she worked there diligently for 7 years and became the staff director of the Research and Technology Subcommittee, and ultimately a senior policy advisor to Chairman Lamar Smith. And then after I had the opportunity, she became the deputy staff director for the overall group. Jennifer's personality, Jen again as we all call her, was the kind of person that no matter who you were, the most senior member of the committee, the most junior member of the committee, the most well-informed member of the staff, or the newest member, treated everyone with the same kind of respect, decency, and would take the time to reason through and discuss with people the merits of their logic, and also sometimes the challenges that presented. Ever the diplomat. Ever the diplomat. Now, this evening, I think we have a few of the folks who she has touched in this Congress who'd like to offer a thought or two. And I will yield shortly to several of my colleagues. But before I do that, let me again return to the point. We are a congressional family. Jen is one of our own. She faces challenges that hopefully none of us will ever face. But she's done it with the most amazing grace and strength and determination. She's decided her own course of action, and that's always to be respected. With that, if I could, Mr. Speaker, I would like to recognize, for the time you might consume, the gentleman from Texas who has had many opportunities to work with our wonderful friend.
And sadly, I thank the gentleman. I wish we weren't here. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor Jennifer Wickre, a public servant and trailblazer in the science, space, and technology community. I got here in 2013. I was on the put on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee then. I've been on it a long time. I've got to see a lot of staffers, Zoe, I think you have too. I had the privilege of getting to know Jean during my time on the committee. Let me tell you, her enthusiasm, her brilliance, her commitment, as the chairman laid out, was second to none. Her smile. She always laughed at my jokes. She always laughed at my jokes. I think she was trying to make me feel better. God knows I wish she felt better right now. God, I wish she felt better. People don't often realize how impactful folks like Jen are at drafting and moving the needle on very important legislation that has impacted the science, space, and technology community But likewise, they don't often recognize and realize what the staff means to us. And when you've got somebody like Jen, what a jewel. What an absolute jewel. She's an avid Oregon Ducks football fan. I don't know why she wasn't Dallas Cowboys, Josh. I was trying to figure that out. Go Ducks. She sings in the congressional chorus and loves to walk her rescue mutt named Finn. And with a lot of the good humor that she had, the dog could have been named Huckleberry Finn, for that matter. All at the young age of 42. All of this at the young age of 42. Jen, you have achieved more than most people do in a lifetime. And you should be proud of that, and I promise you, we're not only proud, but we're grateful. Jen, thank you for the time you've invested in our great nation. And we want you to know that we are rooting for you, we're praying for you, and we are in your corner. We expect God to do a miracle from the power, what little power we have in this House of Representatives, as I believe this country ordained by God, to the throne of grace that he would heal Jen. Cancer sucks. And Miss Jen, you have fought the good fight. And I pray you're at peace, knowing the positive impact that you've had, not only in the halls of Congress, but to every single person and staff member you've come in contact with. I want to urge all of my colleagues to keep Jen and her family in your prayers. And I want to end with a Bible verse from Deuteronomy 31:6 that says, quote, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you, and he will never leave you nor forsake you." God in heaven, hear our prayers for our one great Miss Jen. Heal her. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will yield back.
I thank my colleague from Texas for those very thoughtful and very wise words. With that, now I yield to the ranking member of the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, the gentlelady from California, who has had many opportunities over the years to work with our mutual dear friend. As much time as she may consume.
I thank you, Chairman Lucas, for organizing this special order. Honoring Jen Wickre is really a privilege. I know Jen from the Science Committee, and I know her as an organized and capable person. But today, even more than speaking for myself, I'm here to speak for the Democratic staff of the Science Committee, who know her even better than me. Many of them have worked with Jen closely for many years. They really appreciate her and her excellence as a congressional staffer, serving this institution and our nation, and how valued she is as a colleague on both sides of the aisle, how respected she is in the greater science and technology stakeholder community. You know, prior to coming to the Hill, Jen hadn't worked on science policy, but she has a keen intellect, and she understands and cares deeply about the issues that come before our committee. She's become such an expert on these issues that most people just assume that Jen came from a lifelong science background. Staff on both sides have benefited from her institutional knowledge, her thoughtfulness, and her perspective. The mutual trust and respect she shared with Democratic staff has allowed them to find common ground on almost every topic that came before them. It also enabled them to tag team in difficult negotiations with the Senate and external stakeholders, especially during the CHIPS Act. Jen's sharp sense of humor also helped ease the tension in these long and acrimonious negotiations with the other body. Jen played an essential role in CHIPS and Science, and that's a bill we celebrate as being a once-in-a-generation accomplishment. And she did that while going through treatment for her cancer. That's just remarkable. Staff on the Democratic side count Jen as more than just a colleague. She is their friend, and they are praying for her and pulling for her at this moment. I believe that their friendship speaks further to the special person that she is. Jen is the best of what our nation should expect from people dedicating their careers to the work of this institution. I'm honored to lend my voice to the celebration of her career today and to be the voice of the Democratic staff who love her so much and who are praying for her recovery. And with that, Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me to participate, and I yield back.
Member for her very thoughtful and extremely accurate comments. And with that now, I would turn to the gentleman from Florida, another member who's worked extensively with our dear friend. Yield him however much time he might consume.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Today we take a few minutes to recognize a key congressional staffer who has served us in the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee, Jen Wickre. She's faithfully served both a member and the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee for more than 16 years. Often in Washington, people hear the phrases, "No, we can't do that. That's too hard. No, that can't be done. No, we just can't do that." But that has never been an experience anyone I know has had working with Jen. She has always been such an amazing help to our staff and to our efforts to properly serve the American people. If our staff or I ever brought tough issues before the committee, you never heard her sigh or roll her eyes or do any of the things that somebody might do with some of my crazy ideas, but she just jumped right in and figured out a way to get us where we needed to go. You gotta love it. I've had amendments that have made it into bills strictly because of Jen's leadership and her hard work. Otherwise, they would have just died and gone nowhere. Just special touch that she had. She always found a way to help members on the committee so they could best serve their districts and their constituents. And often it was in a bipartisan manner, which is not easy to come by around this place. Congressional staff are truly the unsung heroes and heroines of this institution. And without them, the legislative wheels would grind to a halt, and that's a fact. Jen Wickre is one of those heroines. Our thoughts and prayers go out to this wonderful lady and her family. God bless you and God bless America. I yield back.
I thank my colleague, and he's exactly right. Sometimes, even in the institution, in amongst the family, we forget how important the critical role is that the staff plays. Their understanding of the issues, the vast experience, their ability to focus. Jen is one of those individuals, one of the catalysts, I'll say, of the legislative process. Now I would like to turn, I believe, to my colleague from Oregon and recognize her to discuss a fellow Oregonian. As much time as you may consume.
Mr. Lucas, Chair Lucas, thank you for the opportunity. As a fellow Oregon Ducks fan and Oregonian, I'm really grateful to be here today with my colleagues to honor an exceptional staffer, Jen Wickre. Jen is a longtime dedicated and invaluable staffer for the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, on which I've had the honor of serving since I joined Congress in the beginning of 2012. Jen has been a tireless public servant, supporting members of the Science Committee in their efforts, our efforts, to craft and advance meaningful legislation. And I know her unwavering commitment, her expertise, her bipartisan approach have really left an indelible mark, and we're honored to pay tribute to her exceptional contributions this evening. Now, committee staff play a really crucial role in supporting the work of the committee, and they're really essential to the functioning of the legislative process. I learned that when I went from the Oregon legislature to Congress, how important our committee staff members are. Jen has been working diligently behind the scenes, providing her valuable expertise, her research, her assistance to help members fulfill their responsibilities on the committee. And she, like many of our staff, She possesses specialized knowledge in policy and really plays a pivotal role in helping us understand complex issues. You know, many of us who serve on the Science Committee, we're not scientists. We don't have that expertise, and our committee staff really helps with that. Identify potential pitfalls, because we occasionally run into those, and develop effective strategies to achieve our goals. And her expertise and dedication has really contributed to the development of well-informed and evidence-based policy decisions, and that's led to more effective policy making that benefits the American people. I had the honor of traveling with Jen on a bipartisan delegation to the Galapagos Island in 2018. And you know, when you travel with somebody, you get to spend time together. We conducted oversight of NSF-funded research and observatories, and you know, the primary subject of the trip and a significant area of cooperation between the United States and each of the nations we visited was our scientific research enterprise. And the trip was noteworthy because it really gave unique insight into the bipartisan cooperation that lay ahead. It was great to have Jen on that trip. It was one of those trips, Science Committee trips, that you'll never forget the lessons learned and the relationships made. So in addition to her exceptional expertise, she's been a model of bipartisan collaboration. I've heard stories from her friends across the aisle about how she's continued to foster a culture of inclusivity, of cooperation, of mutual respect, transcending political differences and working with her colleagues on both sides of the aisle to achieve common goals, and that's something we know we desperately need in this institution. Her ability to find that common ground, to build consensus, it was crucial to the passage of important legislation like the recent CHIPS and Science Act. Now, many have suggested that this would not have been possible without her unwavering commitment to the underlying policy, which helped bridge divides and really led to significant results for our nation's economy, research and technology sectors, and of course our scientific enterprise and research enterprise. So I'm really honored to be able to join my colleagues in extending our deepest appreciation and gratitude from both sides of the aisle for Jen's exceptional service to the Committee on Science, Space, and Technology and to the American people. So thank you, Jen, for your unwavering dedication, kindness, and extraordinary contributions. And I can't end without saying, go Ducks. I know what a wonderful Duck fan Jen is, and so I had to get that little shout out there to my alma mater. So thank you again for the opportunity to honor Jen Wickre this evening. And I yield back.
And I thank the gentlelady from Oregon for her comments. Many people may notice that many of us are wearing an Oregon duck pin that has cancer on it, but it shows the Oregon duck foot smashing it. That is a symbol to us of Jen's enthusiasm for Ducks football, but it also shows our common spirit about smashing cancer and how appropriate that the Science Committee works so diligently in those areas. I turn at this moment to another senior member of the Science Committee with a long working relationship with Jen. I yield the gentleman from Texas as much time as he might consume.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, it's with a very heavy heart that I offer my prayers and sincerest gratitude to Ms. Jen Wickre, longtime staffer on House Science, Space, and Technology Committee. I had the honor of working with her under former Chairman Lamar Smith and now under Chairman Frank Lucas and their leadership. Jen has been an integral part of the committee, and her departure will leave a void that will be absolutely impossible to fill. Over the years, my staff and I have grown very close to Jen, often relying on her expertise and her strong work ethic. We've traveled together on several very meaningful and informative CODELs, very interesting ones. I've always appreciated Jen's input and her service to these wonderful trips that we've taken. She is reliable. She acts with thoughtfulness and has always been able to provide insightful perspective in approaching policy. Throughout her time on the committee, Jen has shown an unshakable passion for serving our nation and advocating for the goals of our Science, Space, and Technology Committee. Her professionalism and one-of-a-kind personality have left an enduring mark, and she will be greatly missed in these halls of this Congress. I'm sure that I speak for many in expressing my very deepest appreciation for Jen and her years of service and her lasting contributions. She is a shining example, without question, of public service, and whether she knows it or not, she has made a significant difference in the lives of many Americans. And we wish her and her family all the very, very best during this time, and she is in our deepest prayers. And so thank you, Jen. May God bless you. We're praying for you. Thank you, and I yield back.
I thank the gentleman from Texas for his thoughts and his observations. We arrive at a moment in this special order when we begin to focus to a conclusion. You've heard this evening from Democrats and Republicans alike. You've heard from the most senior members about the wonderful nature of our friend, Jennifer Wickre. You can tell that those of us who have worked with her day to day, in many instances for years, some for decades, what a wonderful, productive, bright, articulate, focused young woman she is. She's made the committee more productive. She's made the lives of her many, many friends richer. I just simply suggest this in my closing. Jen, we may not get to work together again in the near future on the Science Committee, but I have confidence in you. I have confidence in your fate, and I'm confident that somewhere down the road we will work together again in a wonderful place. So with that, Mr. Speaker, God bless the congressional family, and in particular, God bless Jennifer Wickre, one of our very own. And with that, I yield back.